most fantastic profession. You have the opportunity to create positive change on your guests. You see their reflection in the mirror and their joy and how you've helped them feel better about themselves. And you get rewarded for it, handsomely. But it is physically a very challenging job. Standing 8, 10, 12 hours a day on a hard floor with your body in unusual positions, holding your arms outstretched, generally handling tools that feel imbalanced. And that's understandable because most of the tools that are presented to professionals today have been conceived by a marketing MBA someplace, a brainiac in an office building, and then passed on to an engineer. Engineer comes up with a great design to be produced efficiently. But by the time the tools end up in your hands, you know they just don't feel right. Switches are in the wrong place, cords are too short. We have the same type of failure generation after generation with something as simple as a brush. So at Ergo, all of our tools are designed to make hairdressing easier, more fun, and ultimately more rewarding. And a program like today is to bring focus into something that's seemingly so simple, and that is the finish, blow drying, the use of a brush. And yet, as professionals, where do we learn about how these tools work? It's generally through personal experience, or through the recommendation of a peer, or by attending a show and getting turned on by somebody on stage who's going through some fantastic motions. And yet, often, when we have those tools in the salons, they're disappointing. Even in cosmetology school, we learn less about brushing our hair than we might have from our great-grandmother. Or your mother likely told you at the end of each night, you should take a brush and brush your hair how many strokes? 100. It's amazing. Regardless of the city, the state, the country, the continent, the group, the ethnicity of the group is always the same answer. So I wonder, whose great-grandmother thought that up? But as a basic understanding, how we used to brush hair generations ago would make a lot of sense, because our great-great-grandmothers brushed their hair 100 strokes or so each night as a ritual before they went to bed. Great-great-grandmothers normally worked outdoors, or maybe they worked in a factory someplace, and their hair was exposed to a lot of debris, you know, from the air and sometimes just dust and twigs and leaves and maybe even bugs. So it was really very pleasing to your great-great-grandfather that your great-great-grandmother would do that before going to bed. It became a ritual to prepare the hair to go to bed. And you can even notice today, if you look at photographs from 100 years ago, most women had very shiny crowns, but the ends of their hair looked dull. And it makes a lot of sense when we think back about how brushes were made and how they were used. In the old days, horsehair brushes were common. A natural fiber was cut short so that it would have some rigidity to go through the hair. But we also know, as a natural hair fiber, all hair has a cuticle. So the result of stroking the hair 100 times to remove all the debris would cause the horsehair to pick up elements of sebum, break it down into and liquefy it, and move it down the hair shaft. Over a period of time, it would move down as far as possible until there was no more sebum. So therefore, it's one of the reasons why the scalp was always shiny. The crown was always shiny. But we've learned through research recently that the reason the oils move down the hair shaft is that the cuticle of the horsehair picked up the sebum and moved it down the hair shaft. But as soon as the oils ran out, the horsehair, with its natural cuticle, working through the natural hair without any oils or, of course, no modern products at that time, would create a low-level abrasion, a friction. And over a period of time, it would wear away the human cuticle. A natural hair fiber is now going to have cuticle going downward into the brush. And the other end that's been pointed down is going to have the cuticle going upwardly. So we have contrasting direction of cuticle. This is why, for most hairdressers, they really like a natural bristle brush. It creates tension. And we know we require tension to change the structure and form of hair. But over a period of time, since we use brushes differently, we use them with heat. Heat additionally opens up the human cuticle. And we use tension, and tension additionally opens up the human cuticle. The rotation of a natural bristle with cuticle going two different ways creates tension, but a lot of friction. So over a period of time, even though in your chair you can control this, so most guests don't know when to use a brush or how to use a brush, which is something we'll share with you a little bit later, and they create ongoing wear. So it's no wonder their hair is very easily subject to humidity changes, fluctuations, and often appears dull and matte. So we researched how brushes work. We created a new type of bristle. This bristle, when you touch it, and possibly you have already, it's rather firm. But the density duplicates that of a natural bristle brush. There are a lot of our heat-resistant nylon bristles. These bristles change in their texture once you heat them. They become flexible. But more importantly, the heat-resistant nylon is a perfect cylinder. There's nothing to create friction. And as importantly to that, there's a crystal called tourmaline that's part of each bristle. As we heat tourmaline with our dryer, it creates its own electrical energy. It's called a negative ion. All damaged areas or elevated areas of the cuticle carry a positive charge. And these two charges, when in contact with each other, cause the hair to immediately constrict. This makes the hair begin to detangle more rapidly, squeezes out or expels excess water so hair dries more rapidly, and leaves you with a very tight cuticle resistant to humidity fluctuations, very shiny and protective of color. But our brushes really are different not only for the technological reasons, but because they're conceived by hairdressers. And we know that standing like this, hour after hour, is very challenging on the arms, shoulder, elbows, wrists, tens of thousands of rotations every day. So our team suggested to rethink a brush. And one of the ways they thought we could cut down on the time required for a blow dry was to extend the barrel length. Simply by being able to take a wider section, you'll take fewer sections. By taking fewer sections, you'll finish faster. By finishing faster, your arms will be down quicker. Additionally, because many brushes repeat the same mistake generation after generation. As an example, how many times have you had a brush surprisingly pull hair from your client's head? And that's very simply because of the construction of a brush. So we've eliminated all the areas, such as the end cap, or even in the handle how it's joined, to eliminate that as a possibility. And lastly, our handles are also slightly extended and produced of silicone, which is a non-reactive substance. It's great in everybody's hands, and it gives you total control even when your hands are damp. So we really think about how tools work, and understanding how tools work will ultimately help you understand how to select tools that are best for you. The curriculum that we're introducing today has been presented all over the United States. And surprising that finishing is generally taught as an art. But there isn't a lot of technical understanding about how either to teach someone else that same art, except by the old term monkey see, monkey do. So our team has developed a curriculum called the Art of Blow Dry, which we're going to share with you today, with terminology you're already familiar with. So you'll understand everything immediately, and you can even pass it on to the next generation.